Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. This week we're going to recap Fight to Win 94, we're going to recap the King of Mats 4, and Gamblers Invitational 1. We are also going to preview GrappleFest 3. As always, I'm your host, Maine, here with my co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, man, likewise.
You were busy. You were like, doing vacation
Yeah, I got
stuff.
it. I had to do New York, man.
That's good. You had to do New York, like
Yes.
Debbie does Dallas.
Yeah, pretty much.
Emil does New York.
Yeah, more PG-13, but, you know.
PG-13.
Yeah, that's
Got
good.
it. That's good.
It's good to be back in Baltimore.
Is it really?
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Do you like Baltimore?
I love Baltimore, man.
I mean, I bought property here, so I like it well enough.
You're tied down no matter what, man, but
Yeah. So it's been good. Where do you want to start? Want to start news?
huge fucking news.
What do you have for huge news?
Grappling Rewind podcast co-founder Josh Weinstock getting promoted to black belt. That's fucking enormous news, man.
I mean, it's news. I'll give you that. It's only like
So
a culmination of his entire contribution to jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah, no, in 2 weeks he will be promoted from brown to black belt. So I'm fucking
Exciting.
Josh, congratulations, man. It's well deserved. Like no one fucking grinds as much as Josh Weinstock. Like it's hard to describe. Like this dude does not sleep. He of course is a father of two awesome daughters. He's a serious trainer of jiu-jitsu. He also, runs a restaurant more or less, and has a million fucking hobbies on the side as well. At one point was, I think, an
Doing a
EMT too. He's doing a podcast. He still is, contributor and will be jumping back on, I'm sure, at some point. Just a total monster all over the place. So really
Congrats
excited for
to you,
him.
Josh. I refuse to call you Professor Weinstock. I refuse.
Yeah, you're still an asshole.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's kind of why we love him. So that is pretty big.
A
news.
well-accomplished asshole.
Yeah, as much as I want to give Josh shit for that, he's actually got a match coming up on the Toro Cup on the 8th of next month. So we're actually going to preview that on Toro Cup 12.
Hell yeah.
So that's exciting. It'll be a black belt match.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be. That's right. It's a no-gi black belt match now.
Yeah.
So
That's fun news for the show. That's fun news for us and our team, and Josh, being the first of the team to ever go to black belt.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting.
But
for
he's
us.
been training for I think 10 or 11 years now. So
I want to say more than that.
Really?
I think he's going on like 12 or 13.
damn.
I know he's at least 11
Okay.
because
Hell
he's
yeah.
been training a hell of a long time.
Old school, man.
Yeah. So what else you got for news?
Oh well, I guess this is sort of segues out of Josh. For those of you who know Josh, you know that he loves to shit talk, and shit talking has been all over the jiu-jitsu community in the past couple weeks.
We're gonna lead with this one for news.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
it's
It is
coming up.
It is kind of newsworthy.
Yeah, well, so the first one is the Gordon Ryan quote.
Yeah.
Right?
So Gordon Ryan last week, and we don't usually get into drama on the show. We usually actually cover actual news, but there's been enough interest in all of the shit talking recently, and kind of the jiu-jitsu community is almost split between just be professionals in martial arts, and it was founded on honor and trying to be MMA and sell a fight. And Gordon Ryan came out with a really good quote that I really thought was funny. I don't know if it's his quote or if he got it from somewhere and it was attributed to him, but it was. And here's the quote: "I love how people say BJJ is built around respect and honor. No, it's not. It's built around savage Brazilians kicking the shit out of people just because they could, storming gyms and other martial arts and fighting their instructors just to show how superior BJJ was. And while I think that's fucking awesome, it's not some fairy tale you guys tell about respect and honor. It's a sport built around real men who didn't give a fuck and took what they wanted." Gordon Ryan.
So this was in context. I think I'm assuming for the Cyborg stuff that you and Ryan talked about last week, where.
Yeah.
He said that he was going to sub Cyborg, I think, like a child or something.
Yeah, that was the verb, like a child, and that's where kind of Cyborg took offense there.
Yeah, and that steps, I think, from the truth talking to the shit talking, right? And Cyborg has been around for a while, well accomplished,
Super long
all that
time,
stuff.
super well accomplished.
Yeah, so yeah, Gordon Ryan has a point, but
I thought it was a good point because not everyone, there's a lot of talks, just about honor. It's not really. Gracie in Action, what made jiu-jitsu really famous was the UFC and Gracie in Action, which is Gracie's beating the shit out of guys on the beach.
Yeah,
because they could.
So I think that's how jiu-jitsu gained notoriety.
And
but,
with the Gracie challenges and with Kimura and with that whole story lineage of like challenge fights.
And even UFC 1, right? And the early
of
UFCs.
like we can beat the shit out of you and you
So,
can't stop us.
The other side of that is like how many of us would have stuck with the sport if we didn't have really awesome instructors, right?
It's not just savage guys beating the shit.
Right,
I see your
like
point.
so,
Definitely see
like
your point here.
you know, and you have there's also guys who can, walk the walk too, and also be really awesome, respectful guys. You got the Marcelo Garcias. Not that everyone's got to be that way, but I do think there's many of us who had awesome instructors who weren't necessarily shit talking all the time. And stuff
beating
like that,
the shit out of guys because they could. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fine with it as like a modern thing. Like, hey, have honor, do that. But I want us to not pretend like jiu-jitsu's always been this super honorable, like stoic sport. Because what really made it famous was a bunch of guys beating this. Yeah,
and the bombastic, we all love that shit.
I have no problem with nowadays. Like, hey, we've kind of passed that. We can turn a new leaf on like, hey, we're now martial artists, and we should have a little more respect.
Right.
But I don't want us to ever forget where we came from.
Right.
Which was a bunch of hooligans beating the shit out of guys because we could.
Right. Absolutely. So I mean, I think, and you and I have talked about this too.
Off air.
Yeah, off air, a little bit on air and stuff too. But in a Gracie Mag interview, Keenan Cornelius actually weighed in on this too, which is kind of why I'm bringing this up, because it's been a topic that's been kind of coming up a lot recently. And Keenan was basically like, he was, and I have like, Keenan's the man, like he's awesome.
I think we both love
and
Keenan.
hearing like him like weigh in and expand on it was really insightful. And he was basically saying that he was concerned that you had kind of up and coming athletes who are younger, who are seeing these guys get fights and get money off of shit talking and shit talking.
AJ and Gordon, I think, really who he
and Dylan
are the guys he really pointed to as like, yeah, these guys talk a ton of shit, but they're also really, really good competitors.
Well,
so
he said Gordon Ryan could back it up, and he made it a point of saying that according to him, AJ could not. And you and I have talked about AJ and Dylan Dennis in the context of like, it's, their shit talking, does genuinely bring I think some attention, whether positive or negative, to certain events. And I have not seen events have sort of like take a hit in the quality of jiu-jitsu just because they have someone like an AJ or someone like a Dylan. It's not like 95% of the people are going out there and shit talking.
Right, but I think the thing that Keenan really wanted to get across was he doesn't want the sport to go that way. Like, if you can back it up and you're the top guys and you're Gordon Ryan and you can do it, like, cool, kind of do whatever you want. If you want to sell a fight, you want to make money, awesome.
Yep.
But if you can't do that and you can't back it up at the highest level, don't talk shit. Because you can't back it up. You can't do it. And so I think he kind of almost made that exception. I think that's really the point that he wanted to get across.
Right.
Again, listen to the interview because you can formulate your own opinion on it. But I think that's the point he was trying to get across was it's okay as long as you can actually genuinely back it up at a high level. If you're just some blue belt or some purple belt talking tons of shit to get fights, like, what are you doing? You're making us all look bad because you can't back it up.
Actually, you and I have seen that too, like with some of the competitors, like, that we're covering, kind of like messaging us on the side and stuff. And we're not going to name names, but like we've seen people kind of like talk shit and like, try to build themselves up that way. And
which
of course,
I respect the hustle.
Yeah.
But you're going to build yourself up. Like, the reason why we know certain guys, we cover certain guys, we cover certain events because certain guys are on it, is because we've seen them and we've seen them put on really good performances.
Right.
And that's why we're looking at them in the future. It's like, I really don't, our show is jiu-jitsu, no politics.
Right.
It's like, we don't really get into like, oh, this guy's a bad guy. It's like, I want to watch the best dudes fight the best guys and put on the best performances possible because that's why we cover this. We're not TMZ. We're jiu-jitsu guys that like watching high-level jiu-jitsu and fun jiu-jitsu matches.
This, now that we're talking about this, and by the way,
this is the weirdest news segment ever.
It is, but I mean, it's being talked about, so we're going to talk a little bit about it too. Keenan is obviously going to have a way better finger on the pulse in terms of up and coming competitors and what their mentality is. Like, as a hobbyist, I'm not gonna really know and see behind the scenes like what some of the younger guys are how their attitudes are being shaped. But talking about people kind of like shit talking or not shit talking. It's interesting to see the Lloyd guys because those are some bad dudes, and they do not take shit, but they also don't talk a whole lot of shit.
They do a little bit,
but like I feel like they talk on the mats. Like you remember
Sprigs will talk shit right after, not even talk shit, but like right after around an event, like he'll really like be intense and talk about it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like, I don't really talk that as like shit talk. It's like hype talk almost.
But
it's a difference.
I'm trying to remember there's a 10th Planet guy that he was going up against.
For on Subversive.
Yeah.
They talked a bunch of shit. Sprigs responded in the match basically by just dominating the guy the entire time.
Yeah, and like
I forget
elbow on
the
his
matchup.
face. Yeah, I can't remember the guy.
And then eventually, did he finish him or did he decision?
No, I think they got to overtime. Maybe.
I think he finished him, but I don't recall.
Yeah, I can't recall. I don't think he did. No, I don't think he did. I think he won. Either decision or overtime. But either way, like, I'm sure that dude had a fucking rough time. Like, so it's like there you go, right? Those are the two sides of. Sometimes it's talk shit, get hit. So,
talk shit
for all you up and comers, keep that in mind.
For all you up and comers, do jujitsu better, and we'll care about you once you're really, really good. And then once you become really, really good, then we'll care about it. Then you can do whatever you want because you're really, really good. Until you're really, really good, I don't really want to hear what you have to say.
Yep.
And what kind of shit you want to talk because you can't back it up yet.
That's good for
why I talk no shit, Emil.
Yeah,
because I know exactly how much shit I can back up, and it's not on.
Not even on commentators, really.
Yeah, I'm a great commentator.
Anyway,
so, what other news you got?
That's about it for what I got.
Awesome.
Oh, one more thing, and there's so much jiu-jitsu going on that I wanted to highlight a particular match in a given week that I think is outstanding jiu-jitsu. And it's not necessarily, I might not do it every week, but if there's a match that I see where it's the kind of match that's so exciting that I would go to one of my jiu-jitsu friends and say, I pull him aside and go, you got to see this match.
Did you see this match?
Did you see this match? I mean, you obviously probably have seen it.
I'll look at you, Emil, and go, yes, Emil, I saw the match.
Yeah,
Why?
We talked about it,
because we do the show every week. I watch all the matches.
Just something that I'm really excited about that someone else who grapples would be like, oh yeah, this is fucking amazing. Or even a match that's so good that someone who doesn't typically watch jiu-jitsu would be like, oh, this is dope.
This is exciting.
And I'm going to call it Rewind Recommends.
Rewind Recommends. That's going to be a tongue twister. That is going to trip me up every time.
It's probably going to trip me up too.
And you should do that.
But there was a match like that this weekend, and I want to highlight it. It's from...
you start making a list?
Yeah.
All right, you got to keep track of this list because I already keep track of enough lists for the show that this one's on you.
Okay.
Like, I'm down. Let's do it. But you are maintaining this database.
I'm typing it in right now.
I already keep the event list database, and that is enough of a trial and tribulation to keep that together. So, I'm super concerned. So I was looking through, behind the curtain here, I was looking through the event list this week, and we have Thanksgiving coming up. And so looking like, man, there's like no events. What's happening? What's wrong? And Emil looks at me and goes, it's Thanksgiving, bro. I'm like, oh yeah, there's only GrappleFest 3 is happening next week. And so usually there's at least 3 to 5 events on our roster there, and so there's only one next week because it's a U.S. holiday.
Right.
And principally, the events we cover are U.S.
But we will be previewing a shit ton of events because then the following week there's a bunch.
Oh, so, yeah. The next week there's hard on the gas for that one.
That's right.
So I think that does it for news. Let's move on to the recaps. So on to our recap of King of the Mat Grappling Championships 4, the King's Crown. This event took place on Saturday, November 17th, and was an open weight bracket. And there was a lot of fun matchups on this one, Emil. Where do you want to start with this?
Actually, let's talk about the format overall. So it's 16 men, and it's absolute no-gi with EBI rules.
Yeah, so they've got a big-ass bracket, and 4 matches on each side, and then they go through, and then the finals, it's a EBI-style format.
So of the first match, we got Logan Stout submitting Wyatt Gradson by rear naked choke, and Logan Stout is much bigger. Like, you see a bunch of these matchups, there's a size disparity.
Dude,
so
this is open weight.
It's open weight, and they stick to it. And I got to say, Logan Stout moves real slick for a bigger dude with an awesome kind of Kimura to back take series. And
you're really backpedaling on all of the shit you talked about.
I know. I want to highlight big dudes with good jiu-jitsu. That's fucking dope. So the next match, we got Leon Jackson submitting Justin Michaels by an arm lock from kind of like a side back triangle. Again, big dude, moving slick. Match after that, we have Kyle Tomlinson submitting Ryan Areola by inside heel hook. Match 4, and I want to say...
This is the match probably at the beginning that I think we talked about last week the most. This is one I was most excited for in the first round.
This is Dante Leon and Nick Spacek, and Dante Leon submits Nick Spacek by an armbar in probably under 2 minutes.
I want to talk about the finishing. Sorry, not to cut you off, but definitely to cut you off. I want to talk about the mechanics of this armbar and the speed that Dante hits it on.
Do it, man. So it's a armbar from guard, and it happened almost instantaneously. So there was a scramble that was set up from the back where Dante Leon's on the back, and Nick is athletically scrambling and gets a reversal so that Dante's in guard. And that's where he starts setting up the armbar.
Yeah, so Dante grabs like a guard and then grabs almost a high guard, but not quite. And he has his hand on Nick's, the same side of the shoulder that he's going to go for the arm. And he shoots his leg across and up so quickly that he actually pushes Nick's shoulder, controls his shoulder, so the elbow's right in armbar position and is able to get it so quick. So you don't see a lot of guys use this arm position to control the distance like this. And it was really, really interesting. Go back and watch this. And the whole thing is up on Facebook. The transition to the finish was really, really quick. Nick's a really game competitor, so to see him have to tap that quickly, it was really, really tight. And that moving of the distance with the arm is something you don't see a ton. So
it was
cool
so tight because you didn't see Dante do like a really big extension with his hips. Like he just kicks his
like
leg
a straight
over.
Armbar.
Yeah, exactly. It happened that quickly.
Yeah, there's no hipping through and bowing down or turning. It was just there.
Yep.
So really, really cool finishing sequence, fun match. This is where, if you haven't seen Dante Leon a ton, which I don't know why you wouldn't have,
he's incredible.
Dude, his
Absolutely.
guard passing, his inversions, his willingness to just go anywhere in a match is really on display from the opening bell in this match.
Watch all of his matches in this event. It's incredible. Really, really good stuff.
Yeah, newsflash, he's in the finals.
So...
on the other side of the bracket here.
The 5th match would be Brad Schneider submitting Matt Schaefer by armbar from the back. Again, there's another huge size difference here with the big guy taking it. The 6th match, we got Daniel McGuire defeating Schaefer in EBI overtime. So this was...
That's James Schaefer, not Matt Schaefer.
Thank you. Yes, and this was an armbar in EBI overtime, and at this point there was audio problems, and the commentators actually lost track of who was who in the beginning of this match.
I've had that problem.
And I was about to say I appreciate this problem because I remember when we covered SAGC, there were moments where I had forgotten. I was trying to write names down and stuff like that, and thankfully. You would listen, and then there were times when you hadn't heard it and I had, so we were able to cover for each other. And
SAGC was really funny because there was one match in particular that I remember, and we were doing commentary, and I hit you in the shoulder, and I point to the person, that card, the person's name, and I point to the mat, and I look at Emil, and I shake my head like, who is who? And Emil writes down blue. He writes on the card. He goes, blue shorts. And I'm like, oh, thank you. But it was in the middle of the match. I was like, I have no idea who's who. So it's really good to see that we're not the only dudes that have ever had this problem on a commentary.
And they had a legit they were, I guess there was some kind of popping that they were hearing, some kind of interference that didn't actually come through on the stream. So the stream quality is great, audio is fine, but you could hear the announcers kind of struggling with this, and so they figured it out. And another thing that was kind of funny about this particular match is I noticed at this point the ref was really getting into the match, and it was just kind of funny to see. So you see the ref kind of down on all fours checking a submission attempt, and then there's an escape, and the ref just starts clapping really hard and getting really into it. It's really funny.
There's been good matches up to this point. I mean, you're at the beginning of the event, you're just already going through, and there's already a lot of fun matches. This event ran real quick with the matches.
I'm glad you brought that up. I loved this is the perfect event size for me. You
and I both like events that run about
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. A little hour and a half can be a little short sometimes, but a 2 to 2.5 hour event for something like this is really, really good. So if you have any sort of tournament with a bracket, I like to see an event like this. Like if you're doing just super fights, like Fight to Win is a much longer card, but it's a different kind of event.
Right.
For these bracketed events, that 2.5 hour window is the sweet spot for me.
And I think if you're trying to attract streaming attention and stuff like that, less so on the ticket sales for the live event, I think this is exactly how you want to do it. So awesome job. So the next match is match 7. We have Mauricio Oliveira defeating Christopher Passarello by ankle lock and EBI overtime. This match threw me off because the announcers kept talking about an Emil that they knew, who there was an Estima lock attempt that Mauricio did, and evidently they know an Emil who's really good at Estima locks. So
not you.
No. I'm really good at tapping to Estima locks, if that counts. But the final match of this round was Abdul Nasir submitting Ken Robinson by heel hook. So
now we move on to not the secondaries.
The quarterfinals.
The quarterfinals, Jesus. The secondary matches, the quarterfinal matches.
So we got Leon Jackson defeating Logan Stout by short choke, and this is, again, surprisingly deft leg attacks here and guard play by big guys. So
they do have it, Emil.
They do, and actually we see a super fight later on where I also eat my words. So second of the quarterfinals, we got Dante Leon defeating Kyle Tomlinson by rear naked choke in under a minute. Again, just watch Dante Leon's matches.
Just watch Dante Leon's matches in this because his transitions here are beautiful.
Yeah.
Really just fantastic jiu-jitsu. He's usually the smaller guy in most of these matches, too.
Yeah, he is. Amazing jiu-jitsu. And so the third of the quarterfinals, we got Daniel McGuire submitting Brad Schneider by flash knee bar. This was an awesome match.
By flash knee bar?
Yeah, okay. Well, he does a really quick step over. And
this is the match with all of the
crucifix.
Yeah, crucifix work.
Brad Schneider has beautiful crucifix game. I mean,
Barrett Yoshida-esque.
Yeah,
but he's a taller guy too.
Yeah, I definitely uses them as much as Barrett, but has a very different kind of setup, and he does this really gorgeous kind of like crossing of his legs. He's got a more lanky build than Barrett Yoshida, so he crosses his legs. And when Daniel was turtled, he kept the crucifix for a really long time, minutes and minutes and minutes.
And through all these different transitions and rolls, and like there was a huge escape attempts, and he was able to keep it the entire time. And one thing that you pointed out to me that I'd missed initially when I watched this match was he's on his toes a lot.
Yes,
he's on his knees. He's not just laid back on him.
This is
in the
from
crucifix.
This is when Daniel's turtled and Brad is crucifixing from the top, and he's just kind of squatting. Like he just has this really beautiful.
It's It's not a position I've really ever seen in the back crucifix. I've gone there as a smaller guy, but I've never really seen a guy play from it like this, and it was really cool. Because again, it's rare with how much jiu-jitsu Emil and I watch. It's rare that we see something or see a guy use a set of moves that we haven't seen really before. I've not seen this used like this before. It was really cool.
One thing that I really liked about it was if this was a gi match and he was in a similar position, he could.
You're never getting out.
You're never getting out, and he could step over into a really deep bow and arrow choke because he already has the arm trap there. It's an awesome position. So if I definitely recommend going back and watching this. And it's an exciting match too because Daniel's in this awful crucifix for a long time, and he's able to get out. And then Brad is has a seated guard, and this is where Daniel just does a really awesome fast step over into a knee bar and gets the sub. So exciting match, exciting win from behind by Daniel McGuire.
Yeah, a lot of fun to watch. Really cool technical work from both guys.
So the last of the quarterfinal matches, we have Mauricio Oliveira submitting Abdul Nasir by jumping into an armbar. It was really, really gorgeous. And Mauricio is also really incredible, and he's a training partner of Dante Leon.
This will come up later.
Yep. Semifinals, we got Dante Leon submitting Leon Jackson by another really fast knee bar. So this was kind of more of a rolling knee bar from guard.
Yeah. A really cool setup here.
Yep.
Because Jackson's much bigger than him.
Yep. And just really great inversion, and he's able to grab onto that leg. And what I've learned watching this is Dante Leon must have unreal grips, because when he latches onto something, either a knee for a knee bar or an arm for an arm bar, it doesn't go anywhere.
No, he just owns it.
He's just like, this is mine now. Cool.
Dude, he also can like fold himself in half really easily.
Yep.
Like those guys that play that heavy inversion style and those inversion guards can just they do a weird shoulder roll where they're just all of a sudden instead of like turning through to hip out, they just roll and they're on their shoulders and back.
And I think you do need really good grips to do that because if
you need to have the control.
Yeah, exactly.
Through
If
the
I tried to
transition.
do this, they would just yank their arm out. But
Right.
he's just latched on and he's able to invert and then get these beautiful submissions. So then we have in the semifinals Mauricio Oliveira submitting Daniel Maguire by toe hold. And so the finals is going to be Mauricio Oliveira and Dante Leon, and they are GF Team Toledo teammates. So
They're training partners. So
yeah, they're training partners. They didn't exactly close out, but
they did. They put on a match at the end for the crowd, and
Mauricio submits Dante Leon by heel hook. They weren't going as hard as they were.
They were working. I mean, it looked
they
like
were flowing.
it looked like a flow roll. And it looked like they did a match for the bracket, and even in the interview after, the commentators interview both guys. Really good, really interesting. At the end of the event, I love that. So if you want to, just want to watch the matches, it's there. But if you want to continue to hear these guys talk, it's at the end of the event. Really interesting interviews. He talks about we wanted to do it. We wanted to have a fun match, and so they did. And wins via heel hook. So. He is now the king of the mats 4.
Awesome.
What else you want to talk about, Emil, for this?
Just a great overall event, like really excellent. And again, the time, it just ran so smooth. Commentary was good.
Yeah, it was.
Like really insightful stuff, good information, experience with having gone against a bunch of the grapplers here. So
I always love that when commentators are like, yeah, I went against this guy.
Yeah. It makes it way more interesting.
Yeah, they have that buy into it. These guys are a part of that community. They really do know these guys well because they've had to compete against them, or they've seen them, or they've covered them. It's cool. I always like local That's why I like Fight to Win commentary so much, because they get local guys in there that know who the guys are, and like, oh, this guy's from this area, from this gym, he used to train with these guys. They give you some of the history of those local areas that you might not know about, and I always find that interesting for me when I'm listening to a commentary. So it was really good. Go back and watch it. It's on Facebook. Really fun event. So on to our recap of Fight to Win 94 in Richmond, Virginia. This event paid out a total of $33,329 in salaries and commissions and was headlined by a black belt match, Yuri Simoes versus Tim Sprigs for the Masters welterweight black belt gi title.
And that's Richmond, California. You said Virginia, my boy.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I looked at it and I was like, Richmond, California. And then my head said Virginia because we live close to there.
Yeah, Richmond, California.
Which is not near Virginia at all.
No, it's not. And this West Coast time, put it at 8:30 East Coast time for a start on Saturday night,
which was a little late for me.
A little late,
but I watched the final decision at 2:10 East Coast time, and I was like, this is a really. I think it was like 11 or it was like midnight 45, and they're like only 11 matches left, and I was like, oh. Oh, I'm getting sleepy. This is problematic.
It's that West Coast time.
Yeah, but again, there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of fun matches on this card. 34% submission rate on this card. 13 out of 32, I think, went to submission. But a lot of fun. Where do we want to start? We start with the black belts or at somewhere else?
We can start with the black belts.
All right, let's go through it. So Yuri Simoes defeats Tim Sprigs via decision. This was a very pushy match between both guys.
I would have predicted that. If you told me about this matchup, 2 years ago, last week, yeah, it's gonna be pushy.
Yeah, it was real pushy, but Yuri gets the decision there. Next match, Rafael from Miguel Barbosa defeats Romulo Melo via decision. Oh, wait a second, I messed up. The card was headlined by Tim Sprigs and Yuri Simoes, but the title was actually between Barbosa and Melo. And Formiga gets that title now, and he's now the black belt welterweight gi champion for Fight to Win. So I misspoke there. At Masters, yep. Really technical work from both guys. Fun match in the gi, super technical, high level jiu-jitsu. Next match, we had Ron Kessler defeating Ryan Gracie via split decision. That was fight of the night. Dude, Gracie came out aggressive, and he was like smacking Ron Kessler, not like smacking him, but really hard collar ties. Wanted almost like a tie plum grip.
If you have that last name, I'm sure like you have to come out.
Dude,
like,
Hauf was in his corner.
No one's gonna come out lazy, with the last name Gracie. Like yeah,
Hauf was in his corner.
If
and,
he's
like,
training with Hauf, yeah, enough
I think
said.
Hauf's his cousin, I think, or something, or like his uncle. He had some relation to Hauf, and the commentator was talking about it, and he came out ready to brawl. And eventually they go off the stage at one point. Kessler was like, hey, poke me in the eyes. And they were kind of like, and the tone of the match changed a little bit after that. But super close match. Really, majority of the match was on the feet. And eventually they go into, this match was real slow with a lot of like aggressive pushing until the last like 30 or 40 seconds. And these dudes go ham on the legs. Super close match, and you can make a really good argument that it went to either person. But right at the end of the match, Gracie raises, they're in this really, really deep leg battle, and both guys are, on something, obviously. It's really hard to tell exactly what each guy's going for because they're frantically going for the legs. And the time runs out, and Gracie throws his hands up like he's just submitted, and Ron's still on the mat. And Seth gets on the mic and reads off, footlock win by, for Highland Gracie. And everyone goes, oh, and apparently time had run out. It wasn't a submission.
Yeah, there was a bit of a miscommunication there. It definitely seemed like, there was enough there to convince Seth that there was a sub too. And
yeah, because it looked like there was a sub.
Gracie was like celebrating like he'd gotten it. So I don't know if there was like maybe a tap or something like that.
Well, I don't think it was a tap. I think it just run out, and then Seth goes, I'm an idiot, and they go to decision, and Ron Kessler gets the decision. Again, it was a super close match, and that last finishing sequence with all the as time was running out with the legs is why this is fight of the night. It was exciting. It was a really intense match the entire time these guys were at it. So that was good. Shamir Chantre defeats Alec Candlers via split decision. Nicholas Green, Korean Bamba, pulls double duty with reffing and competing, defeats Garrett Aldrich via decision. Matthew Todd defeats Dom Hoskins via split decision. Sean Nick Murad defeats Sean Goley via footlock. That was submission of the night for the black belts.
Looks like he's going to take his foot off. It's just like a rolling toe hold, and then he transitions into a straight ankle.
Yeah, so they're going for the toe hold, and he's got it, and he's locking, they roll. And they did a lot of that in this match, like roll. And then he transitions the grip onto the arm and gets the ankle lock, and it goes belly down on it.
Yeah.
For some reason in the gi, those are so much nastier.
It's because there's no compliance. Like you squeeze the leg to isolate it with your thighs, and then you're able to extend harder into it. Like if you're a no-gi, there's a little bit of slip. Like the leg can shift a little bit more. But I think when you have the gi pants, there's more of a grip. I think that's why Eddie Bravo and them actually prefer to have gi pants when they're rolling, even though they're 10th planet.
Gives them more control there.
Right.
Yeah, it was really interesting. But he grabs that belly down, and ever you see a belly down ankle lock when a guy there's two belly down ankle locks you see. When a guy's bullshitting on it when he doesn't have it, and you can kind of tell like where his shoulder is locked for the leg that he probably doesn't have it. But this one, there's a difference with the way a guy arches his back when he has it,
when
and he
bites.
knows
Yeah,
and that's you saw here like, oh man, if he doesn't get this full lock, it's because he's barely slipped his foot out. Where Stephens barely pulled his foot out, but Sean bellies down on this hard and just goes and is able to get it, and it's deservedly submission tonight for the black belts. Really, really cool transition over from the toe hold into the straight ankle lock.
Yeah, beautiful.
Next match we have Juan Souza defeating Gustavo Andandre via decision. We have Adam Sacknoff defeating Ernest Mello via rear naked face crank.
Yeah, that was a match.
That was a match, Amir. You saw some big guy jiu-jitsu there.
Yeah, I saw some big guy jiu-jitsu. Good finishing sequence for sure. And we saw Adam Sacknoff on for 10th Planet on Quintet, right? He was on.
Wasn't he also on Subversive? He's on that lineup for that team. I think he's on that with whenever they have those 5 guys, he's usually one of the guys in the big guy slot for 10th Planet.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
So it's cool to see him, competing independently. He's on Fight to Win. Not too infrequently they go to Cali. We do see him on the cards, and so he's fighting a big dude in Mello, and he does the thing that big guys do, or like wrestlers do in the beginning of the match, and he keeps like touching Mello's face over and over and over and over and over, trying to trigger a reaction, and Mello's just not giving him anything. Like, you can hit me in the face all you want. Eventually, Sakhanov goes, all right, and just pulls guard.
It was interesting, yeah, to see it because, in the other matches that I watched of Sakhanov, we didn't see him stand up as much, but the majority of this match was a stand-up
Yeah,
fight
before
between
Sakhanov
the two of
eventually
them.
pulls and is able to transition to the back here.
Yeah, and the moment he gets to,
Yeah.
then he starts to get really good success.
But
on
I
it.
see Sakhanov way more as a rubber guard player. He tries a little bit of that with Melo, but Melo, I think, is just he's so much larger that he has almost a hard time keeping him postured down, and he eventually kind of opts to not go with rubber guard and just kind of outspeed him, and is able to get to the back that way. So, interesting matchup. Next match, we have James Carter defeating Mauricio Moran via split decision. We have Sergio Luz y Silva defeating Bill Harder via decision. We have Tracy Goodell defeating Judy Gomes via decision. That's a really cool matchup. Watch that. We have Daniel Ripper defeating Billy Ray Chubbs via submission. We have Ahmed White defeating Stephen Hall via decision. Now on to the brown belts. We have Nikki Sullivan defeating Tracy Pham via wristlock, and that was submission of the night for the brown belts. And this was a really fun sub. And Emil and I were reading through the results here, and he was like, "Is that a wristlock?"
Yeah, it was. It looked more like an arm bar, and Nikki spent a good deal of the match in guard. And was setting up like awesome armbar attempts and stuff like that. So I thought it had she'd maintained that.
Well, I watched this again and I was like, it was an arm because you can see there's one camera and you can see she has the wrist and she has the wrist turned in. Like, it was a wrist lock actually.
So they were both like lying down on the ground with Nikki obviously having Tracy's arm in an arm bar like position.
Yeah,
but
it was a really weird finish. I don't recall the last time I've seen this particular finish like this.
So probably my guess is it was a little hard to tell from the angle, but probably she just didn't have the elbow position pointing into her, right? Like you need that the elbow pointing into you to finish the armbar. It's probably rotated a little bit and she couldn't finish it, so she just adapted and grabbed the wrist and
really cool finish sequence. Again, really cool control. I love when people use the wrist as that last point of control, and then if the person's going to let you bend their wrist enough, if you control the elbow after the fact, you can always get the wrist lock. And so I'm a big proponent of wrist locks because I think it's one of the last real joint locks that is going unutilized at a high level.
You like wrist locks because you have no soul, man. That's the real reason.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I'm a piece of human garbage.
Yeah, no.
I also have wrist lock wins in competition.
You're
too.
a horrible person.
Oh, yeah.
Just reminding you and everyone listening.
Dude, whenever guys get promoted to blue belt at my gym or at Hopkins or any place, the first thing I always do the first 2 weeks is I just wrist lock the soul out of them. And I go, it's legal. Every time I go, it's legal. And then after about 2 weeks of me just mercilessly wrist locking them, because that's one of the few submissions I won't do on white belts.
Wow. That's kind of humane.
I don't know why
I don't give
that's
a fuck.
on the bar of the white belts. I don't care.
Leg locks.
Heel hooks, you have to be.
Okay, I won't heel hook.
I'll heel hook a white belt once they are if they're a comp guy that is looking to compete more and is ready to almost go to blue. I'll show it hey, this is here. Be aware that's there, so they keep themselves safe, especially if they're going to go at that speed and that pace. But for some reason, I don't know why wrist locks have not made that list for me. But as soon as they get blue, I wrist lock the soul out of them. And then after about 2 weeks, they never give me that bent wrist, and they know it's coming, and it helps their defense. So I love seeing wrist lock
Stop
wins.
pretending like you do this to help them out. You're a terrible fucking human.
Yeah, I do. So she's now the 125-pound champ. I think she was the champion before, either at Purple or in Nogi. But I'm just thrown off because I think she is the champion, but she becomes the champion now, and she's now the champion at 125 via the wrist lock. That was submission of the night for the brown belts. I said that in a super weird way. I don't know why. Next match, we have Alan Sanchez defeating Connor Donaldson via heel hook, and that was fight of the night for the brown belts.
Yeah, that match was incredible. That ended, I think, with 3 seconds left?
Something like that. And it ended so close to the time that I didn't know it was did time run out or did he get him? I think he got him, and he ended up getting him the heel hook. And it was, I love when guys go right to the bitter end and get those taps in the dying seconds of the match, because there's an intensity that picks up right before that happens.
And I never would have seen this coming, because there's maybe 30 seconds left, and Connor was doing a really good job at grabbing behind Tyson's head and kind of like crunching him in so that he couldn't
Yeah.
extend out
And
to
with
finish.
30 seconds left, it's almost impossible to ever break the hands off, get your head free. Because to finish these sort of leg attacks, you've got to be at the person's feet. You really can't ever finish if someone's grabbing your head here. Or it's really rare to get a finish when someone's grabbing your head there.
Right. You had to have already kind of been extended away and then get the finish.
So if there's 15 seconds left or 30 seconds left, it's kind of a foregone conclusion if a guy's defending that way that he's usually going to continue to defend that way and just kind of hold on to the end of the match. So whenever you see a finish like this in the dying seconds of the match, it's always really exciting because it means the guy was able to get out of that and then able to get the submission and able to turn the submission and still get the tap.
But
so
boy, were we wrong. Damn, that was fucking amazing.
Yeah, so that was deservedly fight of the night for the brown belts.
Absolutely.
Next match.
Tyson Griffin defeats John Donaldson by decision. Raul Diaz defeats Joey Taylor by footlock. Victor Oliveira defeats Derek Van Ness by knee bar. Brett Byron defeats Baldwin Chu by decision. Canela Kananui defeats Carlos Diaz by decision. Raquel Torres defeats Sabrina Barrera by decision.
On to the purple belt results.
Mike Silman defeats Joshua Cha by split decision.
And that was fight of the night for the purple belts. Deservedly fight of the night. Damn, go back and watch this one.
Douglas Anstey defeats Ricardo Campos by decision. Hanasam Lee defeats Aaron Bogan by guillotine.
That was submission of the night for the purple belts. This is a really cool guillotine. He just kind of jumps it and locks it in. It's nice. Real quick.
Norman Aaron defeats Raymond Gutierrez by decision. Pablo Sanchez defeats Arturo Burgos by decision. Faisal Barakat defeats Sladen Grunenberg by rear naked choke. Alan J.C. defeats Todd Kramer by decision. Tim Fagan defeats Michael Clark by decision. Aaron Torser Curtin defeats Jeremy Harden by footlock.
On to the team results.
Reese Hobby defeats Ryan Nubla by decision. ZK Funtila defeats Rachel Sedilos by ankle lock.
That was fight of the night for the teens.
Hannah the Cheetah Ripper defeats Jolene Sunga by armbar.
And that was submission of the night for the teens. See how I left you all of the hard names in the purple belts and the teens?
Well done, Maine. I
Yeah.
didn't even see that coming. I was like, oh, Maine's letting me take over.
Yeah, no, I read the black belts and the brown belts because I knew all those names, and then I just handed it off to you, and I gave you all of the names that I was just gonna butcher, and you got a bunch of them that I was like, man, I would have completely jacked that name up. So overall, a good event. The beginning of the card was real fun. The black belts got real technical, but there was a lot of really, really active matches. There was a couple of them where I went, oh, this is definitely fight of the night, and so I love cards like this when you have a bunch of matches that could be fight of the night, and then I look at the results the next day and I'm like, oh shit, that made fight of the night, or that was submission of the night. So it's a lot of fun. This card was has a lot of really good matches on the undercard that were just good matchups and fun jiu-jitsu. So you got anything else to add, Emil?
No, that's it.
All right, on to the next one. So on to our recap of the Gamblers Invitational 1 presented by Sapateiro. Is it how do you say that, Emil?
Sapateiro.
All right, can you say it any more ethnically?
I can
Sapateiro. You
try.
trying to seduce me?
Sapateiro? Yeah.
Sapateiro.
Sapateiro.
Yeah, so that was good. Dude, it was a fun event. They had a bunch of really cool camera angles, and they had partial commentary in some places, but not. But the matches on this were a lot of fun. Where do you want to start on this?
Well, there was a couple big pullouts from the event. PJ Barch obviously still kind of nursing.
Injured from trials?
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
And then I think Ethan Krelliston was supposed to fight on this too. I'm not sure if he was a super fight or what. But
He was
yeah,
out as well.
but still a stacked card. Still like amazing talent on this card. I was really pleasantly surprised. So it was basically a 16-man tournament, EBI rules, no gi. And
We've been seeing a lot of this, how you say EBI rules.
yeah, that's
For a lot
right.
of it's like it's a standard
It's
rule set.
almost
that-
like we see it everywhere. Yeah.
It's like we see a lot of guys, and we see the same guys do really, really well in it.
Yep. Absolutely. So
So we're going to start with this. 'Cause there was a bunch of super fights. We can go through the super fights first, or we can just go through the bracket.
we'll
what do you want to do?
We'll go through the bracket.
Okay.
I only have partial results here. Sorry.
It happened this morning.
Yeah, exactly. So
So shoot us. What do
and
you want from us?
but I have so let's go through it here. So on the left side of the bracket, we have Ben Zapata versus Ruben Beard. We have Mike Padilla versus Matt Farilo. Phil Schwartz versus Rodney Rampersad. Mike Lugo defeats Nick Gullo. So I know Mike Lugo and Mike Padilla actually progress from the left side. They have an amazing semifinals match. This is my Rewind recommends match. absolutely go back and watch it. I'll talk about it a little bit more.
Again,
but
the whole match is up. The whole event is up on Facebook again for streaming. Go back, watch it. It's a lot of fun.
So on the right side, we have Tony Wade defeating Dalton Fristos. We have Corey Brown defeating Sam Farron. Josh Bacalao defeating Stephen Koslow. And Keith Krikorian defeating Jordan Hawley. And so the people that end up progressing from here, we have Keith Krikorian and Corey Brown ultimately. So we can start with the semifinals matches. So we actually have Keith Krikorian.
There were some fun submissions in the preliminary rounds, but I had a really hard time when I was trying to take notes figuring out who was who.
Yes.
I couldn't hear a lot of the commentary to figure out guys' names, and I don't recognize the guys well enough by faces for most of them to be able to pick out who they were. So I tried to figure it out, but I just honestly didn't have enough. I didn't have the ability to figure out who everyone was because there's no there's no graphic overlay for names, and I couldn't hear who certain competitors were. So there's a really cool jumping armbar finish right at one of the preliminary matches. I think 13 minutes in. I couldn't tell who it was, but basically just jumps directly over the guard into an armbar.
Yeah, this whole event was incredible. So the semifinals match, the first one that I wanted to talk about was Keith Krikorian and Josh Bacalao, and Josh gets out of this whole match was back and forth, and there was at one point where Keith Krikorian had a deep darce. I mean, deep darce. I'm shocked that Josh
I don't really
didn't
know
go
him
out.
as a darce guy.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Keith. We see Keith in two places.
He's versatile though.
No doubt he's versatile. He's taken one loss in 2018 in the finals of the trials for the East Coast against Ethan Krellenstein. That is literally, I think, in 75 or 80 matches, that is the one loss the dude has taken, is at the finals of the trials.
I was actually a little bit worried about him in this match, so it was really good back and forth, and it goes to overtime, and dude, I've never seen Keith have this much difficulty controlling from the back because we know him as an absolute savage
he's
from the
either
back.
on the legs or he's on the back. He doesn't really play a lot from any other positions. We see him in the guard, disengage, go to the legs, and then we see him pass and then go to the back. But yeah, we see his back control once he gets you, especially with the body triangle in it, really, really good at holding that from a lot of that EBI training.
Yeah, and this came. He definitely succeeded here. Obviously, his EBI training panned out, but it was hard to tell. The escape times were really close. There was no obvious winner there, and I was just shocked to see him. Props to Josh. I mean, just incredible defense, and then also really solid control. We saw Keith doing that gator roll that we've seen him to get out of
as soon as time goes, he just shucks and just rolls and rolls and rolls, and that's how he just tries to outroll the guy because it's really hard to maintain either the body triangle or the hooks. If a guy does that, if a guy has hooks, you just kind of pop off in that roll, and he has really refined that for getting out of back control. That's why usually in matches you don't see guys on his back very often because he's just so drilled for that particular back escape.
Yep. So this is the match I want to talk about. The rewind recommend is Mike Padilla.
You're really going with that name.
Dude.
Rewind recommend.
That's right. Mike Padilla versus Mike Bruno. So Mike Padilla is just an absolute fucking monster.
We saw him on Fight to Win Philly. Not this Philly card, right? It was the last Philly card. Stepped on our late replacement to go against Wilson Hayes, and dude, it was a hell of a performance then. And so we've seen Mike Padilla on EBI, we've seen him on a bunch of stuff, and he travels around. He's on super fights pretty frequently, so always a treat to watch him compete.
Yep, and so he wins this battle of the mics.
It was just super competitive. Sorry to cut you off there, Emil.
No, it's all good. This match started off. I thought it was going to be a slow match, so we saw Padilla when they started. They were both standing, and Mike Padilla does a drag, and it looks like he's kind of going for a far ankle or far knee pick, but he goofs it, and Mike Bruno lands in sort of a top north-south position. You hear Mike Bruno's corner being like, "Oh, you were just gifted that position. Just take it." And so
you would dude. I love on these events Fight to Win a ton this weekend. You can hear the corner super clearly.
Yeah,
I love that. I love when you hear because you just hear there's three kinds of corners. There's the straight up helpful, this is our game plan. There's that's one kind of corner. You have like the encouragement corner, like, yeah, you can do it. It's usually like a guy of lesser skills than the guy that they're coaching, just like encouraging the guy, like, oh, look at that foot lock, like you're good at that foot lock. And then you have the third one, which is just like shit talk corner.
Yeah,
like, oh, you were given that.
The Ray Longo school of cornering,
the Matt Serra corner.
Fucking punch a hole in his chest.
Punch a hole through his fucking chest, like that kind of corner. So this was a mix of the two corners. But that's how certain guys corner.
I and the corner was right. I remember in my head as I was watching this, being like, that has to be so demoralizing to start the match off, and just like messing up a takedown and then ending in the bottom of north-south. And it looked for just a few seconds like it was just going to be kind of like this squash match. But then, Padilla is able to explode out and initiate a scramble.
Padilla is such a hard dude to hold down.
Oh, absolutely.
Like his scramble game is amazing. That's why I like watching Padilla, because he's a little lankier for a smaller guy, and he's got a real fun scramble game and a nice head and arm game too.
Yeah, all around this match just showcased all of it, and it's hard to pinpoint specific moves throughout the match because they're happening so rapidly, and both sides are just initiating these sweeps, which it's exciting to see matches like that where it's not like, oh, there's this one sweep. And
it's not
really
a slow, grindy. I think I like the slow, grindy matches, like, especially from the high-level guys, because you see all these little nuanced grip changes and grip switches. And we've had coaches and guys talk about, like, at the high level, like a really good high-level match is like 2-0.
Right. I remember Ryan Hall saying something along those lines.
Yeah, maybe that's where I got it from. But I think you were talking about it to me, and that's probably where you got it from. But I love the other side of that too, which is like guys both throwing the kitchen sink at each other. Like they're gonna settle a position when they're ready, but both guys are committed to out scrambling the other guy.
Yep, yeah, and you can see it off the bat. It's like this, not nervous, but like this explosive, jittery.
It's like a twitchy thing almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you see, both guys are ready to go and to jump on anything that they're given. And it just always makes for exciting jiu-jitsu.
So this is definitely a match you can go back and kind of like watch and show your friends. It's a great match. Definitely recommend it. No problem. So it ends. Mike Padilla wins from saddle. He gets an inside heel hook and progresses. So the next match after that, we have Keith Krikorian versus Corey Brown, and this was on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. This was felt like flow rolly almost, like it was super.
If you can't see Emil, which you can't because this is audio, Emil is waving his hands in front of his face like he's about to cast a wizard spell on me.
Dude, there was a spell. It was like I had not sleep in a bad way, but like I felt super relaxed. I felt like a spell was cast on me. It was almost like have you heard of ASMR?
Yes, I have heard of ASMR.
Right, this was like the visual example of ASMR.
Is like somebody hears a bag crinkling, and you hear it in your ears, and you feel like the tingles on your neck or something like that.
Yeah, and you have like the soft, like whispery.
Yeah,
speaking.
it doesn't work like for me, but I've heard the sensation described, and that's what it is.
This is the visual, like version of that, and this match was just, and like I said, it's not in a bad way. It's just a very like flowy
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, Keith is able to. This match goes to overtime, which I'm really curious as to why both guys committed to this, because we know Keith, and he's extremely explosive when he needs to be, and he has a gas tank like I've never seen him breathe hard in any of his matches.
I've seen him breathe hard like one or two times, but it's super rare. And it's usually at the later matches of a big bracket, I've seen him breathe hard, but it's rare.
So he wasn't breathing hard here, and I don't know if he was trying to conserve energy or just kind of trying to feel out and not overcommit with Corey Brown or what. But Keith is able to win by rear naked choke in overtime, because once he gets on your back, you host.
He's super hard to get off.
So yeah, absolutely. So it's around here where actually I noticed the commentary got really quiet when they started switching camera angles. So that was interesting. So whatever form they're taking in terms of switching camera angles and stuff like that, something to consider is keeping the commentators at a level that's constant where you could kind of hear it. So
yeah, it was whenever they changed to the Mat cameras, they'd go from Mat audio to they'd cut the commentary audio, where the commentary would be like a secondary audio feed or something, where it'd be much, much quieter. And again, I had a really hard time hearing it for big sections, especially at this point in the event. It was just, I really couldn't hear the commentary. But again, it didn't really take away from it. It was fine, but I just couldn't hear it. So I'm not sure if I missed some insight that they would have had.
So now they have an intermission where they have the super fight between Kevin Gallagher and Tex Johnson.
Yeah, this match looked a lot like I think Craig Jones and Husmar Paharis.
Yep.
It was not like not nearly as much of a stally kind of way, but both guys wanted to do their one thing. Tex was looking like ADCC with no shirt, trying to work the butterfly game, and Gallagher wanted.
He basically was spamming the double under pass.
He wasn't just holding the arm; he was actually looking to pass.
Yeah,
he wanted a specific pass, and Tex wanted a certain type of engagement.
And this went on for a while, and they were, as you said, there was way more commitment than the Craig Jones,
not in a
match.
And they were compare them in a bad way. I just wanted to basically get across that from a visual perspective,
they were committed.
One guy trying to do from the butterfly guard, one guy trying to pass, but Gallagher was actually trying to pass and not just disengage.
So when you're fighting for butterfly guard and someone's trying to fight you there with their knees on the ground, everything is centered around the grips, obviously, and so they were pummeling for collar ties. And at one point, I don't know what happened, but it started getting a little slappy, a little chippy in there. And
I like the word used is chippy.
Yeah,
it started to get a little chippy.
It's getting a little chippy, and like Tex, to his credit, like Kevin had basically kind of full on like club slapped him, and he gave him the club punch, and like Tex was really cool, and you could see him almost be like, all right, let's chill out, let's cool out,
man. You just smacked me in the face,
and then it went back to normal again. But I think Kevin was getting frustrated, and at some point he just the one time that he gave up on doing the double unders pass, he tried to do the knee bar back step that we saw a couple times this weekend, and Tex just shucks him off, and they kind of just get back to that point. So now it goes to overtime, and this is very contested overtime, really, really good overtime in terms of had me on the edge of my seat. I had no idea who was going to walk away with this, but right. Tex ends up winning by escape time.
So then we're back into the bracket.
So this is the finals. Now we have Keith Krikorian versus Mike Padilla, which is just like...
Which is a super fun match.
Dude, awesome.
These guys I don't know where, but these guys must have met each other before in some event. I don't recall when, but I was super happy to see it. I think we've seen these guys. I think we've covered these guys in the finals or something before.
Yeah.
And it's killing me right now because I can't remember what it was.
But it was outstanding. This is a match where both sides had immense control. Where at one point, for example, Mike Padilla has side control and Keith Krikorian. Keith looks like he's maybe in a little bit of trouble. Then he throws up that fly trap that we've seen from the 10th Planet guys, and that he had on for a little while. I thought.
But Mike does a really good job of escaping that. We saw this was a really, really active, fun match between these two competitors. Keith really wants to be two places. Having watched a bunch of Krikorian's matches, Keith really wants to be two places. He either wants to be on your legs extended, or he wants to be on your back. There's not a whole lot of other positions he plays for. It doesn't mean he can't play from them. He just prefers those two positions. And it's really interesting that we don't really see him play ever from side control. He doesn't really play from mount. He doesn't really play from like knee on belly.
Because he's an efficient grappler, and this is what the Danaher guys talk about all the time in terms of how little energy, or how not little, but comparatively less energy you need when you're attacking the legs or attacking from the back. Keith, I think, intuits this and goes the same way, and I think that's one of the reasons why we see he has such a stellar gas tank.
But I think it's really interesting because you see a lot of guys play from really heavy side control and do really, really well from there. There's other positions that guys can use.
As much from once you start getting like 160, 155.
For the smaller guy, you don't see a whole lot of like that crushing top pressure from side control. Right. Padilla's a guy that will do that though, because he likes that head and arm game.
Yeah,
and we saw Padilla a bunch of times in this match, like get up, get the knee on belly, and cut over, and like basket the head, and keep those sort of upper body top positions. Because he wants that head and arm, he wants the arm bars, and
I think it has to do with if you're in the smaller weight classes and you want to be a side control guy, you don't crush from side control. You do the transitions.
A lot of the back steps and the steps there.
It's way more speed oriented, where you're moving around your opponent. So
we saw it from Dante Leon too.
Yep.
He has really, really good step arounds and really good hip switch passing.
Yep.
And so does Padilla here.
Yep. So I think that's.
So you think it's really mainly a size thing, because you don't have that like top control crushing power with the weight. You have to be a much more active and dynamic player from those positions,
Correct.
as opposed to being able to grind through and grind the passes. You have to kind of be able to outstep on the passes.
Yeah,
from
you
those
bounce
dominant
around a
positions.
lot more, and so I think the philosophy is: do you want to beat them on speed, or do you want to beat them on efficiency? And I think Keith is just an efficiency guy, and that's why we tend to see him on the back or on the legs.
Yeah. So this match went into deep waters at the end here, and eventually Keith gets in, and he just sort of steps into half and then immediately steps into like a high quarter guard, and then he does the back take that I love the most. It's the one I teach after I've taught like the really basic back takes. This is what I teach my guys is when you're in the top quarter guard, you just sit behind them. And if you can keep them like nice and not squared, like nice and flat, not flat. What's the word opposite of flat I'm looking for?
Rolled on their side.
Perpendicular? Yeah, on their side.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus. You can just kind of sit behind someone, and Keith is really, really good at this back take, and he does it, and he gets on Mike's back, locks out the body triangle, and then they get into the fight from the back.
Yeah, and this is Keith's bread and butter. I mean, for everyone who isn't Josh Bacalao, you are just cooked once Keith gets on your back, and at this point, this is deep into a
they both had
bracket.
a bunch of matches. Padilla's had a bunch of like tough matches at this point.
And
You can see the speed for both guys has slowed down, but Padilla looks like he's slowed down a little further than Keith.
And at this point, Keith just locks a body triangle, and eventually he's able to hand fight, grip fight, and get the rear naked choke after some masterful back control.
Yeah, so he is now the Gamblers Invitational champion.
Yeah.
He wins $5,000, dude.
$5,000. Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's a nice payout again
Yeah.
for grappling. Like he is one of the first, I think, generation of guys that we're gonna see that's starting to literally pay his bills on like prize money.
Yep.
Like he wins enough for these like $2,500 or like $1,500 or $5,000 like every month or every couple weeks. We
Dude.
see him taking home like a salary prize money thing.
If you win $5,000 a month, that's like $6,000 a year, or sorry, $60,000 a year.
That's what I make.
That's a good salary, man. That's solid.
You're paying to fly there, and you have some other independent contractor fees you've got to basically deal with as a competitor. But it's cool to see him winning these and getting paid out.
Yep.
And becoming the champion of all these various organizations and showcasing really good jiu-jitsu. But we frequently see him getting these these like big payouts where it's like, oh, you can actually kind of like pay your bills with this kind of money on a regular basis. So it's really exciting to see that. I love covering organizations like this that pay out, that have put on exciting matches, have big names in the bracket, have fun matchups, and it's great to see.
Yeah, this was an awesome event, and it's free on Facebook.
Yeah.
So go check them out.
It's been a good weekend for Facebook events.
Yeah, I love it. It's up immediately too. Like
I love the replay.
Yeah.
Fight to Win's up too, which is great today. But like that's hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes it's not up immediately.
Right.
But with Facebook events, the stream finishes and it's there.
Yep.
A lot of times the stream quality isn't as great, but for these events this weekend, it was great. Like all across the board, it was a really great weekend of grappling.
Absolutely.
So you got anything else to add, Emil?
No, that's it.
Also wins a dope belt.
Yeah, nice belt.
Every time I see these guys win a belt, I'm like, I want a belt so bad.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna do Naga. I think.
Just go fight Keith Krikorian for his belt, man.
How about not?
Yeah.
I know how good I am, and I probably can't even come close. Dude's lost once this year.
Yeah.
One time.
Yep.
Uno tiempo.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
I'm not that good, Emil. All right. So that does it for this event. Go back and watch it. It was a fun event. So that does it for the recaps. On to the previews. Because it's Thanksgiving, and I can only find one event, there's only one event this week. We got GrappleFest 3 in Liverpool, Great Britain, happening on November 24th, 2018.
And what an event it is, man. I'm fucking pumped for this, dude.
Yeah. We got main evented by Daniel Strauss versus Matheus Diniz.
That's going to be savage, man.
It's going to be great. We saw Daniel Strauss last time. I think, was it Quintet?
Quintet, yeah.
Was the most recent, or was it Polaris, on the last Polaris?
Quintet for sure. And
Okay.
Quintet, it was very memorable because
he looked happy as shit the entire time he was there.
Yeah, they talked to him, and like I love that mentality where he's just like, oh, I'm just having Like, he's legitimately having the
was
best fucking time of his life.
He was just happy to be there.
And he walked out with Sakuraba's kind of like luchador mask, and Sakuraba gave it to him because he was like, you kind of like embody what I tried to.
It was like a
passing
passing
out there.
It was a passing of the torch moment. It was really cool. So I
Yeah.
think this is the first time we've seen Dan Strauss since then. So
Yeah.
that is exciting. The co-main event is also amazing. This is an under 80 kilograms match for the title. Ross Nicholls versus Gianni Grippo. We just saw Nicholls. Nope, not ADCC because he is not American. Where did
I'm
we
not
see?
sure.
It's gonna kill me. I forgot.
Yeah.
We just saw Nicholls on something else.
We just saw Gianni Grippo fucking take Kasai Pro 4 with a fucking win over Paulo Miao. I just wanna say that I called that final.
You did call that final?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you looked at the graph we all looked at, Emil,
Yeah.
that you created and went, no, this is a probable final.
Yeah.
This is probably where this is going to end up.
I'm not exactly prognosticating by picking, the two most accomplished guys there, but Johnny's just had a fucking awesome year,
Dude,
man.
the past couple months, he's looked really, really good.
I feel like he's ascending, like he's definitely, like now he's able to topple Paulo, which was his main obstacle.
Definitely in contention for the world too this year.
Yeah. So the rest of this card looks fucking incredible too.
Next match we have, you do the names.
Oh yeah, give me this one. Cam Atakuru versus Freddie Voskron.
That's why I gave you the names, Emil.
Tom Kong Watson versus Kieran Davern. Lloyd Cooper versus Tom Coffey. Now, why don't you do this one? Because I always mess this guy up.
Ian O'Flanagan.
That's the one.
Versus Liam Corrigan. Yeah, it's Ian. It's Owen, not Ian. God damn it. You gave it to me on purpose, and I knew it, and then I messed it up regardless. Something's never changed, Emil.
Yeah.
We have Lee Chadwick versus Ash Amos. That's a fun matchup. We have Chris Fishgold versus Wing Chang. Another fun matchup. Matty Holmes versus Nick Fourier. Nick Sear versus Martin Wong. Sophie Keenan versus Abby O'Toole. We have Shane Curtis versus Aaron Jordan. We have Kevin Corkle versus Nathan Kay. And a ton of other names in the bracket. I realized that there was going to be a ton more names to go through. But yeah, really heavy on top of the card with good guys. I assume there was fun matchups all through the card last time. So,
dude, I'll tune in just to see Daniel Strauss, Matheus Diniz, Gianni Grippo, Ross Nicholls. Those are freaking.
This
incredible.
is the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I get to enjoy my food coma and watch some grappling. I'm like, I'm going to enjoy like leftovers of leftovers while I watch guys compete in a competitive event.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. So, anything else to add, Emil?
No, that's it.
Awesome. So that does pretty much for the week. What do you have going this weekend? What do you have going on this week, Emil?
I have the whole week off. I'm gonna be chilling.
Me too.
Yeah, dude.
It's great.
Yeah, we should train. How are you feeling, man?
Oh yeah. Speaking of training, I finally got an MRI on my shoulder after, I think, 8 years or something like that.
You waited 8 years to get an MRI.
Well, I knew it was messed up, and I thought I had a torn labrum like 8 years ago from boxing, and apparently I do.
Oh,
It's a partially torn labrum because what it was is I started to lose like power in that arm, and I was like, I should get this checked out. And my doctor goes through and goes, "Here's an MRI. Go get this done. Also get your neck done because
what that neck do?
Because you're an idiot." And I got him the neck X-ray was like, "Yeah, your neck's fine." I'm like, "Cool." And the labrum came back. I was like, "Yeah, your labrum's partially torn." I was like, "Cool, that's what I thought."
The medical terminology is it's jacked.
It's jacked, bro.
Oh,
so,
shit, man. I'm sorry.
It is what it is. It only has caused me constant pain for like the past like half a decade.
Jesus.
I had to
are you
stop
going to need surgery?
I'm probably not going to need surgery going to PT, but I haven't been able to sleep on that side of my body for like the past like 2 months.
Oh, dude.
And I realized like maybe I should use my medical insurance that I pay for to go and get this checked out.
I'm glad you brought that up. For some reason, people feel weird about sometimes like going to the doctor. It's like, granted, okay, I know everyone's in different financial situations, but if you have insurance,
like I do,
like you're fucking paying for it. Like,
and it's just weird though because I realized that I've had this injury since literally the entire time I've trained jiu-jitsu, and I've never got it addressed, and it's always been a problem. Like I have a bad shoulder. I've always said I have a bad shoulder, and then I realized that like I could have probably done something proactive so it's not getting worse because it's definitely getting worse now.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm hoping the PT, like you can reverse it and
yeah, we'll
not
see. I mean, but it's funny that I went from a bad knee that was actually diagnosed to a bad shoulder that's actually diagnosed. Like, oh, I actually have real injuries this time. This is fun.
Yeah. Stay healthy, man. Come on.
I'm trying. I'm eating vegetables and stuff.
Well, rub some vegetables onto that shoulder and knee.
Yeah. So yeah, we should train this week though. I'm leaving going to Maine in end of the week for Thanksgiving to see the family see Rachel's family up there.
I'm going up to Massachusetts, so
I'm sorry for you.
Yeah. Well, go fuck yourself.
Have you been to Boston when it's cold?
I'm from there, man.
I know, man. It's terrible.
You're from Maine, dude. That's not any better. It's worse.
Technically, I was born in Maryland. We can argue.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely worse. But you gotta deal with people from Boston when it's cold. That makes it even worse.
That is true.
So how long are you up there for?
Just for 3 days. I got friends in town back in Baltimore that I want to chill with. So
nice. That's awesome. So you driving? You flying?
I'm driving.
Me too.
I can't, dude. I just can't.
I can't justify the flight,
exactly.
especially holiday prices, because that flight should be about $150.
You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna download a bunch of podcasts and I'm gonna fucking listen to them on my ride up for 7 hours. So
I can recommend some good jiu-jitsu podcasts for you if you'd like.
Hell yeah, dude. Please do.
There's a lot. Definitely listen to the Grappling Union podcast. They're a really good show to listen to. JJ Uncensored is a lot of fun to listen to. Literally off the top of my head now, I'm like blanking. I'm like, I have all these podcasts I listen to on a weekly basis. The Finishers podcast with the guys at 10 Planet Bethlehem is a lot of fun to listen to.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. They've been they were a little quiet for a while, but they have a really good episode recently with Jay Reglabudo. He does commentary for Men of War. He does commentary for Fight to Win occasionally. He does commentary for MMA and really good commentary. He's on really fun event to listen to, especially with their event coming up in December.
Yeah.
They're doing Finishers 125.
Yeah. Sweet.
On bracket, and the winner of that gets a bye into the Ultimate Mat Warriors 4, which is originally supposed to run back in last April or March, but they got pushed, and now it's going to come up, and they're doing another 125-pound event. So hopefully they will have a podcast talking about that a little more in depth before that comes out. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But there are
man.
tons of jiu-jitsu podcasts to listen to.
Yeah, thanks for the tips. I'll definitely check those out.
It's always great. So what else you doing this week? Just chilling?
Just chilling, man.
Just enjoying your time off?
Yeah. Oh, I started strength training, actually.
Did you?
Yeah.
You start running?
No. I hate running. But I was lifting weights and shit. So
that's good.
I'm trying to,
You're trying to put on muscle?
Trying to get swole, man.
Dude, I want to see you with tons of steroids.
Yeah, okay.
That would be really funny. Emil walks in at all of 170.
Yeah, I want to be
whatever you are.
I'm going for Husmar Palhares weight,
Jesus. Juicemar.
Juice weight.
Juicemar weight. All right, so you got anything else, Emil?
That's it.
All right, that does it for the Grappling Rewind. We will see you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.